Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm going to be covering content on self-improvement, frameworks for success, overall just trying to optimize happiness, whether that includes increasing wealth, increasing social, increasing whatever kind of makes me happy, or hopefully humans happy through research. So one of the contents I want to talk to you about today is kind of in general the bucket of making more money. I currently work full time, but I also have a side hustle that I've actually quit before and then kind of gone back into full time. But really, the idea is if you're in a W 2 worker, how do you get raises? Or one method that's worked for me. I want to showcase that. It's going to be a Google Doc that you could just plug and play. And then the other aspects is, well, should you switch companies or should you technically put energy into making a side hustle? So either way, it's all focus, energy, and effort, and all of it should hopefully bring you increased revenue to help support what you want to do in life. So let's just take a look at what Google says is a reasonable raise when you search Google percentage. I think this gives you insight into the kind of masses of people. It's a good way to check the finger on the pulse of people. And it says that, a good percentage raise here is 10 to 20%. But then you can also see people asking 4%, 7%, 5%, 3%. So another Google search query shows that, well, an average raise after a year, this top one says 3% per year. So what I'll leave you with is this idea from Jim Rohn or Gary Vaynerchuk or whoever is your motivational speaker dude. They say, you're the surrounding of your five people, the average of the five people you hang around. Most people have heard that, but if you haven't, it's basically how this is applicable is depending on what your friends are making and what they're making in raises, they're going to share their story every year. That could influence you to kind of ask for more money or be comfy and be like, okay, yeah, I'm in a good in a good spot. And really, Tony Robbins says that two ways to motivate people: it's pain and pleasure. So pleasure being carrot and stick. Most of the time, most people are focused on the pain, avoiding pain. So what that would involve is that if all your friends are making buckets of cash from their salary job, getting awesome raises, and you're not, that could make you want to find this YouTube video, watch this YouTube video. And so I bring that up because in my circle, so I've graduated like kind of IT engineer. I currently work as a consultant, and my group of friends, the average going rate right now is somewhere around like 10%. I would say it's like if I'm not making that, I'm kind of like, oh shit, maybe I need to find a new job. But for other people, and you can see from these Google searches, it's like 3% raised. So just try to get some insight either from this video or someone leaves a comment below what their raises are. Just try to expand what could be possible in this world. A lot of things are possible. I know you could get 20%, maybe 10, like 30%, depending on if you get a title change. And so that's just one anchoring point is just get out of victim mentality, get out of learned helplessness, and educate yourself to have more like mental models to say, hey, this is good, this is possible. So I made this Word document because I was reviewing. One of my coworkers was asking if someone got a raise and got a market adjustment for inflation. It was like 8%. So they actually got quote unquote two raises. And he called me. He was like, Did you get that too? I didn't get that, but I got a title change. But what I wanted to showcase was if we just go with my baseline salary of or my baseline of 8% raises, you could see here if this is true, I started at 43,000. It would have taken me 12 years to get six figures. Um, so keep that in mind when your base salary. There's an important story. One of my friends now works in the West Coast Bay Area. He was flaming me or basically like ragging on me like, Alan, I can't believe, for Georgia Tech, that's really bad that you took that salary. It's gonna be really hard to like make more money based on percentages. But luckily, I had some entrepreneurial friends and some other friends who kind of changed my model because I remember there was one day he was working for this company for about 3 years. They did, I forget what their name was. They got bought out by like Cisco or something. Um, but they did like security, internet security. And he was like, I don't know if I want to switch jobs because like they didn't give me the raise I wanted, but I want to be on track for like the 7% per year raise type idea. And my other friend who had switched into consulting and was even switching a lot of jobs was consistently making like 15%, 20% every time he switched, or on average per year. So that opened up this idea of staying in your job versus um, switching jobs. There are some Google searches here that state that the average person kind of makes 15%, which is really great. And even switchers could get 50% higher. So crazy to think about. But if you want to stay in your current job, there's pros and cons. I would say a lot of it, people don't take action because of fear of the unknown. So they don't know what their workload's going to be. Work life balance helps a lot. But let's just get into kind of the get a raise Word document. So in my opinion, the most raises you'll get is when you get a title promotion, which involves new responsibility. But a lot of times, most companies, if you're working for a decently established company, should have a career atlas where they say, this is what you're going to be making. This is what, or not, this is what you're going to be making. They're saying, this is what is expected of this job. And what I did was I just made an Excel sheet and I took all the requirements and then I put supplementary information saying I've already done this or I'm capable of doing this by this XYZ. And I kind of took some of my friends gave this, but put your company logo here. I went from I went to senior consultant. I put the check mark there because it's like, oh yeah, I've done this. I've crossed this check. Alan has done this. It's a little marketing technique, but I think that this could help everyone. And then I put also at the end if you've done any trainings or stuff like that. So really, my job said, hey, to get senior, you need to be doing this, and I've done it. And then just showcase other stuff that's valuable, so certifications or whatnot. I would say um, let's anchor that anything you do, it's gonna go through a lens of who's seeing it. So let's just bust out the iPad here, right? So let's talk in terms of like working 40 hours a week, right? So if you're working straight 40 hours a week, and then over, let's say you get 2 weeks vacation, so times 50 weeks, so they're paying you for that amount, but you're doing stuff outside of what they're currently paying you for. So when you ask for that job, for that raise, it's still your manager or someone else. Do I have a better, my favorites go? It's still someone who has to visually see and say, okay, I agree with this assessment. Now let me go see if our company could give you a raise. So there's still like a gate here in processes. It's like the diamond box of someone approving your request. Now this is also going to happen when you theoretically like switch jobs or start a side hustle. And the reason I bring this up is no, I found that most things are the same amount of effort, like relatively. Most people would just spend time working a certain amount of hours, but things aren't too difficult. So you just have to get sales under your approach, like any getting a raise, getting a new job, selling someone on your side hustle. It all is effort, and at least with getting a raise, it there's a people component. There's a people component involved. So just don't have victim mentality if like if you're not getting it or your company doesn't have the budget to pay you what you want. There's things in your control. If you get out of learned helplessness, you could use this Google Doc or research other YouTube videos that hopefully help you. Hopefully, this video is helping you, encourage you, inspire you to ask for that raise. So, getting into, well, if you want to switch jobs, the other aspect is, the pros and cons is if you are not action oriented, you should not only take interviews, but then see if you can connect with someone outside of the interview process and be like, hey man, like how's the day to day? How's your work life balance? And try to get like a real feel on how it would be actually working for that company or that team. Um, because obviously this aspect is helping you hopefully get more money through raises, but that's just one component of optimizing for happiness. Maybe that's like gonna be my sticking point, is that there's a social aspect involved, who you hang around, how, if you're having fun, and then there's like that fulfillment aspect. Do you feel like you're putting your thumbprint, making a difference in being a creator, or are you just doing tasks and like you could be replaced by a robot? So some of these things I want to cover in this channel. If you like hearing my take on that, feel free to leave a comment or subscribe if you want to be the first or what. Honestly, whatever you want to do, it helps the channel, helps me out. That's part of one of my side hustles. Is if you want to make a YouTube video, I have some other content on doing this tech stuff. Um, but in terms of like raising side hustles, oh, I did have this up already. So it would have taken me 12 years to get that amount. That's crazy to look at. Look at this. Is this right? 46 added. Have I made this much money? No way. No way, bro. I don't know. I'll have to double check that. But in 2014, I changed mid-year to go into consulting, and I kind of went. It's not that high, but immediately I kind of got the 60. So then, on an average rate of 8%, starting at 60, going to six figures only takes 8 years. So you shave 4 years off of if you can consistently get 8 years. And again, in my opinion, the sad part is that it's a lot of it is just the mental models you have in your head. If you think 4% is okay, then you'll get 4%. Another good Tony Robbins quote. I love me some Tony Robbins. Is you are not the highest you strive to be. You are the lowest of what you find acceptable. So basically, what that means is like, oh yeah, I could get 20%. I could blah 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 blah. There's all these like dreams and aspirations of what you could get. In reality, you only operate on what you're willing to tolerate. So if you're getting 3% raises consistently, you're tolerating. If you're not tolerating it, if for some reason you're like, well, I only got a 2% raise, and then you get mad, that's like kind of truly who you are. So if you just raise your bar, I'm not saying like get mad, and I'm saying like take that energy and that emotion and turn it into action oriented steps you could take, like tell your manager why you deserve a raise, or put it out in a Word document, or clearly articulate it. You can make a lot of shit happen. So, I just think putting it in numbers can help people kind of realize the game you're in when you're in W-2. Is like if you're just getting out of college, it takes, on average, this amount of time to get six figures. And a lot of people have a target salary they're looking for. For a lot of people, it's making six figures, and out of 8% raise year over year, that's 8 years. I started at 40, and honestly, if I was at this 4% raise, then that was okay with me. Luckily, I had friends that kind of helped me see the light, quote unquote, or kind of raised my bar. That would have taken 20 years. So just a lot of things to consider as you're watching this video. Is like, maybe leave a comment. It's like, hey, what was I willing to accept? What do I want to change now? And how am I going to go about making it so that's a reality for me? Are you going to make new friends? Are you going to reach out to old people you've seen, quote unquote, in your friend circle, who are maybe have like, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that some people make more money than you, might be living a better life than you, because then at least you could take it as inspiring, hopefully, and not in the jealousy aspect, and learn to grow from that. So a lot of preaching here, but hopefully, as I make this content, it's re-anchoring or reminding myself, really, that this is some of the stuff I should be doing. So I talked about raises, staying with your company, use this Word doc, make a pros and cons list, and then the cons of leaving is, fear factor, the fear of unknown. You don't know what it's going to be like, what the work's going to be like. Maybe you have imposter syndrome. So there's a lot of other videos. People can leave links hopefully in the comments. If you're struggling with this, leave a comment and I could direct you to some content that's helped me. But for the most part, I've always found that, wherever you go, there you are. So if you think your job sucks and you go to another job, you're probably going to think the next job sucks. So if you could just rewire your brain, and just like the process, or like where you're at, and everything's a learning opportunity, then things won't be bad whether you leave or stay. But if we're doing metrics, some people like metrics, then theoretically, switching jobs in a W-2 fashion will get you the most money. So let's just talk about why I have this bonus mileage listed out, because this is what really actually inspired me to kind of start my own side hustle. Is that there's this idea of like expenses, and when I would expense my mileage, I was driving 60 miles a day. I had a Kia Soul EV. I was the first person in my group to have all EV, because back then I was really gung ho on like saving the world, self improvement. I don't know if I'm about that anymore. I've kind of chilled out. But all this to say, 60 miles a day, I was getting like, I don't know, $300 per week on my paycheck. So like $600 take home untaxed. I was like, holy shit, my effective pay is like somewhere near 90, because once you start learning about taxes, you see that, okay, if you get like a, I don't know, $5,000 raise, $10,000 raise, that's basically like $100 more on your paycheck. And so the more you can expense things or get it untaxed, you're like, oh wow, that's essentially like the effective raise I would have made. So that's a kind of an accounting mind finance hack people do, is like, what am I really making with my take home? I would say that once I kind of understood that concept, again, it's the story aspect, who you are like surrounding you, and how could help inspire you to take action. I remember the day I was like, I'm gonna learn how to do website, because my friend was graduated in my class, and he was more entrepreneurial than me. But he basically was like, "Hey, I'm doing this Blunt Logic. I'm selling to medical companies making their websites. I sell packages at 10,000, 15,000, 25,000." And I basically was like, "What the fuck?" And he like showed me. It was kind of like in if you remember, if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, where the guy's like, "Hey, show me that fucking check, and I'll quit my job right now." I didn't quit my job, but I was like, oh, I should like learn this and do this. So a lot of it, I had imposter syndrome when I was first starting out. I was like, I don't know if I could like sell a 15,000 package. I actually went down to 5,000, 75, and 10,000. But I got a phone call one day, and this guy's like, hey, I saw your website. I want to do the full package. It's actually, this is him right here. I was just emailing about something. Um, but yeah, I was like, holy shit, awesome. And then, of course, going in terms of like expensing, well, I had to expense a photographer, videographer. He was out in LA, so I just found those. So my take home was really like, I guess I should have updated this. It was probably like 75,000, and then from that you could expense like, hey, I bought a camera, bought a laptop. At the time it was for website design, but I was also trying to edit videos. So a lot of this take home thing makes it like effective raises. I would say selling one $10,000 package, and then after your upkeep costs and whatnot, that's basically like a 7% raise. And then of course you could get a raise in your job anyway. So effectively like a 14% raise that you could be working towards. Um, and then I had other clients. Then of course, so really I quit consulting back here because I kind of just wanted to, I don't know if it was like experience it, but just kind of grow the business. But it didn't really take off as I'd like. I have another story there of why I went back into the real world. If you want to know, just leave a comment. But yeah, I got passed up, or like I didn't make a manager. I wanted to make manager. I didn't make manager, and I was like, fuck this, I'm leaving. I'm just gonna do my own thing. Um, but in terms of like, of course, making more money, right? I've technically those years lost money. So one aspect I would say to you is just do the side hustle. And if it can scale, then lose sleep and trade sleep for the scaling. Because like if you really think you're gonna quit your job and then work all 8 hours optimizing and fixing it, it's not really gonna happen. So at least you have that stable income, and then could make this side hustle happen if you want to make it a full-time business. Um, but I guess one of the anchor points I want to leave you guys with is, again, the effort aspect. So let's go back to the iPad. Is no matter where you put your effort, right? You could be trying to, there you go, nice. Right? So like everyone only has a certain amount of working energy per day. So you could be trying to like, let's just say you have like 10 hours of fuel. Let's just put it that way. It's like 10 hours of, let me do this productive time. Like you're gonna spend like 2 hours, like, how should I phrase this? There's a certain amount of time that you're going to be spending like making that Google document to get a raise, right? Or you could be spending 2 hours looking for per day, like looking for jobs. new jobs, or you could spend 2 hours per day um, working on your side hustle. So, of course, in side hustles, that involves like making websites, or first you got to sell, right? So, the way to actually convert these hours into dollars is, well, when you get a raise, you have to have the manager meeting, you have to have the document, you have to showcase what you've done, you have to update your resume, right? Same thing here, you have to update your resume, you have to take the interviews. So let's just say, you're doing all these things. These are all the same amount of 2 hour fuel units, and everything is not guaranteed. You could take a bunch of interviews, not get accepted. You could. The thing with the raise though is that only usually happens once a year, so that could be a lot like discouraging to some people. My company fortunately has gotten rid of that. It happens more frequently, and then also in my opinion, you should get rid of the mindset that most companies only promote people because of a certain hour. So you can only get like a certain title promotion per year. Some people are like, oh, I have to wait another 3 years before I get promoted to manager. It's like, fuck that shit. I know I'm being brass here, but like that's kind of the entrepreneurial action mindset. I've seen it like, again, the Tony Robbins. If you accept that that's how it is, then that's how it'll be. You could test what's real and what's real for you and your reality, in this case, your job, by just asking and seeing if it's possible. There's no harm really in trying. Um, I'm thinking now of like the memes with the girls. It's like, ooh, ask her out. The worst thing she could say is no. There's a lot of funny memes on that. Um, but again, so you take the same 2 hours. Let's say the other hours is like, working your job, and then like family and kids, whatever, fam, work, etc. So you're only willing to spend 2 hours to getting this new increased income, right? So everything has like a potential to not make more income. You're the staying in your own job, you only get one salary per day, or you only get one raise opportunity per day. Going to your job, you looking for a new job, you kind of take interviews, you get rejected and stuff like that. And here in side hustle, you could not close, or you could not even have prospects. You could spend all this time working on your inner business, saying, "Hey, I need to make content, or I need to make a website, or I need to make a sales funnel," and no one clicks. So you run ads, so you actually lose money spending ads. So everything's a trade off, but at least in my opinion, if I was doing all this, it would either be switching jobs or side hustle. Or I mean, now I have a great company, so I'm like, hey, let me just try to get as much promotions as I can. If you're going the side hustle route, at least there's no unlimited upside, because there's this concept in like pay rates where like they'll only pay you a certain range, and then you have to go to the next. I've seen this in like consulting, and then you have to get promoted. So that's just consulting, by the way. You have to go senior, and then they could pay you 93K to whatever, 120K, right? And so with some people, with some companies, it's like, okay, just go for the title range, because let's say you're making like 85, but you get the title range. Well, the least you can make is 93. Um, when you do side hustles, if you really have everything optimized, your hours of units spent, you've optimized a lot of things. Well, there's nothing stopping you from closing one client and then getting another client and then doing it. And if you're expensing things, you could just find a website designer on Thumbtack, or train them in house. Like I actually trained my brother, and I split one of my sales with him. We sold like a $5,000 package of a UK person selling homemade soap bars. I was like, hey, I kind of don't want to do this anymore, but I sold it, so here you go. I've outsold. There's this UFC fighter who I sold a package on, and I kind of sold some of the email marketing to one of my friends out in Cali. So there's just, in my opinion, there's unlimited upside to side hustles. When you go into needing, working in the corporate world, you get capped. So you could be spending, 2 hours working on your resume for you. This is your raise. You're spending 2 hours, and the next day you spend another 2 hours, and the next day you spend another 2 hours, and it's like there's a certain limit, right? But and with jobs, technically, if you could pull it off, you could theoretically just keep switching jobs every year or 2 years, and you know, until you kind of reach peak and you're like, okay, maybe I want to optimize happiness another way. So hopefully this has helped. It's actually the third time recording this. Hopefully the audio is better. My name's Alan Nafa. Find me on Instagram if you want to learn more about making content. I have a YouTube Blend Logic Tech, which is about laptops, technology, kind of making content like this. So hopefully you have found some insight or takeaways. Hopefully the anchor points are some of those mindset motivation shift things. Say again, like Tony Robbins, pain and passion, that whatever you're accepting is what you're willing to have in your reality. So try to find people who raise the bar for you, raise that literally like raise the raise percentage. Stop accepting 3%, 4% raises and say, hey, yeah, I'm gonna at least beat inflation. I'm gonna beat 10%, right? I need to demand a 10% raise. And that's something that's happening actually is people are seeing what inflation is and they're becoming more savvy on it and they're like, I'm not gonna accept lower than that. So that's a benefit. That's that's the silver lining, I'll say. If you have a positive mentality, that's a silver lining of inflation. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Keep spreading positivity. Be like the alchemist, and just enjoy life. Hope you guys check out my next video, whatever it's gonna be on, and leave some comments. I'd love to answer them. I like to answer a lot of comments. You can check my Blend Logic Tech channel. I answer pretty much every comment. So peace. Bye.